soul of the city. What is going on, St. Louis City fans and MLS fanatics? Welcome back to another episode of Soul of the City, brought to you by First Touch Media. Today, I am joined by Chris and Ian. We are still virtual. We are still banging these episodes out for you lovely folks at home, and it is a pleasure to be back on the microphone. Today, we are discussing the 0-0 draw with the Colorado Rapids that took place in St. Louis City's home opener. A little bit depressing, but there were definitely some bright moments in that match. Guys, what did you think?
Home opener, man. It was good to see St. Louis alive and well. Soccer City is still the soccer capital of America, so I think there's no doubt about it. What'd you think of the tifo they rolled out for Olaf?
It was very good. What was it?
Yeah, it was cool.
Star Wars,
City Wars.
City Wars.
Yeah.
There was a second part that they didn't. That was like caught. That like was twisted in half, so you couldn't read the bottom portion of it. I don't think they ever fixed it. But yeah, it was pretty sick. It went along very well with the light show that they did. They did a pregame light show where everyone had wristbands and like lit up the stadium. And then while this tifo was coming out, they like dimmed the lights and brought like white like it looked like stars all throughout the stadium. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, they. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought the song choice was interesting. It was a stark contrast from the Metro Boomin Future that we normally roll out with. It was some kind of like folky tune that went along with the light show that we were kind of all participating in with the wristbands. But it was. I mean, the place was rocking. I think that there were a couple new chants that I didn't really totally know, as well as all of the cult classics that we run with. But it was, bouncing and packed.
Yeah, nobody's afraid of the cold here in the city of St. Louis, and everybody wants to be out at the,
The hand warmers in my shoes might speak differently, but it was we survived.
We survived indeed. And honestly, in this match, there wasn't a whole lot of surviving that really needed to be done. Colorado Rapids looked quite poor, I would say. Their front three really did not generate anything throughout the match. And the back five, well, let's talk lineup now. Obviously, preseason, we saw Olaf really roll out the five at the back, and we saw it in action on Saturday night. Back line consisting of Giannis Horn at left wing back, Kyle Hebert next to him, King Kess in the middle, Josh Yaro to his right, and then the always reliable Thomas Totland in right wing back. And then ahead of him, interestingly enough, we saw Akil Watts and Edouard Leuven. Akil Watts being the interesting one there, who had some time at CDM in his first two seasons, notably when like Blom was injured. He would step into that role. He gets the start for the home opener tonight, and then Hartel kind of 10 playmaking, doing his thing ahead of that, and then Klaus and Simon Betcher were our strike force. Anything out of the ordinary that you guys didn't expect from the lineup?
Definitely Watts. I was like surprised to see him. I thought Chris Durkin would have nailed that spot down, but
He's
I
still
don't know.
coming back.
Yeah,
full fitness.
sure. Would you think of Akil Watts' performance?
I thought he was pretty good, if not ineffectual. Like I don't really remember anything, and I feel like from a CDM, that's not a terrible thing to think. But I think he'll lose that spot when Durkin comes back. Like he'll be a bench option, I think, for the team. I was surprised to see Hebert rolled out as the left center back in this. I like Yaro at the right center back, but it is surprising to me that Olaf's national compatriot Nielsen didn't make the starting lineup, and he's kind of one of our higher paid like players. Whereas Hebert, I think, is a bench option at best on any MLS team.
Kind of felt like Olaf was going for pace in his center backs. Like Joachim, I feel like does not have the pace that Yarrow or Hebert has. But I mean, out of that back three, I feel like Kessler looked the best. He was everywhere, man. I feel like he's like the guy who I was most excited about after watching that game. I was like, all right, I can walk away with like feeling like Kessler's like the guy. He kind of felt like he was playing like a sweeper role you see in high school, right? Where there's like one center back that sits back and just kind of like cleans up everything. And he did a great job with that. So I was happy with our back line, honestly. I thought everybody defended really well. And I don't know if that was because Colorado was bad or if we were just good, but it's good to keep a clean sheet. First game of the season.
Just to touch on Nielsen, he is back injured yet again, and that's why he did not appear in this match. Him alongside Rasmus Alm, who at this point, I think it may be time that we say our goodbyes. This guy's hurt more than he's healthy. But yeah, I totally agree. I thought Hebert and Yarrow did a pretty good job. Yarrow, I will say, when he gets the ball at his feet, it does frighten me quite a bit when teams look to press. There were some close calls in both halves with Josh Yarrow, but thankfully no real notable dispossessions. Just likes to make my heart thump at especially high rates when he's got the ball. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I thought Watts did a good job covering a lot of ground. He had some really good runs. Him and Yarrow, I noticed, stepped up into midfield quite frequently. Just like if Yarrow had space ahead of him, he was taking it and making a play, finding a good pass out wide, which was something I don't think we ever have seen from Josh Yarrow. So definitely some mentality changes from the coach, Olaf Melberg. Yeah.
I mean, we're definitely playing out of the back, which with our current lineup, I trust Kessler with the ball, but the other two, like Yarrow and Hebert, I do not really trust with the ball that much. So I think those could be upgradable positions because I was definitely frightened more than a couple of times when they were getting pressed. I will say I was surprised to see Horn get the start at left kind of wing back, left mid-ish position. Because I think Vollum, like, I truly feel like we're going to have him for a year and he's going to be gone. So I'm surprised we aren't making better use of him. And I liked him in the preseason. So
I think that Olaf saw Giannis as more of a defensive option. And then he brought on Wallum for like the last 9 minutes because they were like trying to push for a goal. But you're right. I thought Wallum would have started over Giannis, but that was my justification in my head. Was like, all right, he needs like more of a left back, but the wing backs were up there. I thought that Giannis was in the attacking portion of play pretty often. You were right there, Ian, so you probably saw him running up and down the left wing.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like we were super right side centric, and like we were always having to bring it up the right hand side. And part of that, I think, is having Totland over there, who's a lot more attacking minded than Giannis is, and that's probably where Olaf was mindset wise. Just we'll have one attacking wingback and one more defensively minded wingback, and that'll kind of balance itself out in making sure that we have numbers. Because we were very defensively sound in this game, so they really did not threaten us in any way. I think they ended up with like 0.2 xG to our 2, which it's a 0-0 draw, so it's pretty disappointing. But Olaf after the game was like, we did everything that we should have in that game and should have won. We just didn't put a goal in.
I agree with him, honestly. Like, it was disappointing that we didn't win that game because we looked in control the whole time. We clearly had like a defined play style. We had a lot more possession. Did you guys notice that? I felt like we were playing a lot more possession and they were like stringing together a lot of smaller passes. Dude, and I mean the big chance was Betcher gets a cross in, I think from Watts. I think that cross was coming in from Watts or something, or it was like a throw in from Totland or something. And he just had Zach Steffen had just like a point blank save with his right arm. That was just we should have scored. That should have been it.
Steffen had a really cheap giveaway in the first 15 minutes of the match as well that I think fell to Betcher. Betcher needs
to do well with it.
He needs to be able to put that one away, like dink him or make a move and and create some kind of finish. But yeah, Stefan looked all right, I guess. I definitely understand why he has fallen out of favor with the U.S. men's national team. I think he's Ian. Well, Ian, are you seeing? Does Chris look like a Oh, am I losing you guys right now? Hang on.
I don't think so. I'm not losing
No.
you.
You guys look
So
odd on my end. Anyways,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was Betcher just got it caught in between his feet. Like I watched that was directly in front of us, which we need to have a conversation about the fact that we attack towards the supporters section in the first half. I feel like that should be the other way around.
it's been
I
like
think
that
the
for
idea
like
is
all
that you
3
get a goal
years.
early.
I guess, but I don't like it because I always feel like nothing gets decided in the first half, and I want to see the best part of the action in that end. But I don't know.
I really don't understand. Because it's consistently we attack the north end in the first half. Like we've only had it the second half for like 2 or 3 games, I think, in all 2
And I don't
plus
know
years
what
of our
dictates
existence. It's like a coin flip, I'm pretty sure. They get to call the coin flip, but it seems like even when we win, we're not choosing to attack in the second half. I don't get it either, truthfully. Because in the games where it does matter, I think that would be the better side to attack. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought Betcher looked like the better of the 2 strikers in this game. I mean, you kind of talk about him not being able to bag one because he had a few opportunities like that offside goal was directly in front of us. I've got a sick video of them running to the corner right next to us, like celebrating, and I am woefully disappointed at the end of it when I look up and I see them like lining up to take what looks to be like a goal kick or an offside, and I'm just like, no way, man. And I went back and watched the highlights, and he does look like he's offsides. I was just severely disappointed when that happened.
Yeah, it was a banger.
Yeah,
free
that
kick.
was a good chance. God, I don't know. There's not really anything you can do there. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah,
Leuven
it
had a
just
good shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
dude. Yeah,
Nice.
if only Leuven would have just banged it, that would have been like
Yeah.
the perfect way to start the season.
I thought he was going to go full power to the top right corner. Instead, he tried to curl it. But I don't know. There was a lot to be positive about. What would you say? Who did you say stuck out to you as like having the best game?
I think Hartel looked great. I think
Yep.
him in the center is something I'm really really pleased about because he needs to be there. He needs to have the opportunity to have the ball at his feet more often. And last season when we had him out on the left, it felt kind of wasteful. He just was not as involved as you needed him to be.
Shuffle the
Sorry.
cat over. Dude, Hartel's a great shout. He created 7 chances in that game, and I think the most any other player created was 1. So that's massive, and I'm sure that's going to continue throughout the season. Yeah, he's gonna be the creator, and we need Klaus, the main man up top, to be the finisher. Which last season we didn't see. This season he had some opportunities, couldn't put them away. For me, I think I want to give it to somebody on defense. I feel like either Totland or Kessler. Totland just is both sides of the ball and like defends incredibly well and helps us break out. I'll give it to Totland. I think he was super impressive and back to his regularly scheduled programming with this performance. Like super talented, and that dude's never going to lose a spot. A1 performance from him.
Yeah, it was 2 good shouts. I was going to give it to Kessler, but since you already gave it to a defender, I liked Leuven. I thought he played well in a deeper role. If you look at his heat map, I know you guys made a comment earlier about our center backs and how you're like, I don't know if I really feel comfortable with them on the ball. I think they get it to Leuven pretty quickly, and then he distributes. There was like a good there's a good Leuven Klaus like over the top of everybody link up that Klaus just like got bodied off the ball. But I'm like, dang, I'd love to see Leuven just pinging balls from kind of like our half of the field into a more offensive and like attacking, creating chances from our end. You know what I mean? Like that with Hartel, that unlocks our ability to have that happen with Leuven. But I was pretty surprised to see him get hooked at like the 67 mark. Where was he? Where did he get hooked?
Yeah,
I thought it was really
he was our first sub at 69. So
59th minute for Alfredo Morales, former
But the
U.S. men's
team-
national team call up.
yeah, and he looked good too, honestly.
Let's talk about Mr. Alfredo, the summer league, or I'm sorry, the Coachella Valley trialist. There was a lineup that dropped at one point from the club, and it just said trialist. We had no fucking clue who it was, and it's this guy, Alfredo Morales. I saw in the post game that Olaf said that I guess Leuven was tired. He said that the team was
tired, yeah.
the team
Fitness
was
issues.
running low on juice. So they bring in Alfredo, and what I really liked, something that I kind of disliked about Leuven's game in this one, he went 0 for 3 in dribble attempts. There were just these moments where, like in our half, he's trying to dribble through the press, like the midfield press, and it never worked out from him the entirety of his performance. That's something I was super disappointed in. But then Alfredo comes on, and he is far less risk-takey. Like, he will give the ball right back to you if he's in an uncomfortable position and still can progress when he finds those opportunities to. I really enjoyed watching him play the deep, the deep lying midfield role and helping us build out from the back. I was like surprisingly pleased the way he commanded the ball. I really enjoyed watching him play.
I would agree. I think that we were all kind of confused whenever Indy got shipped, right? But now it's starting to come into focus because it's like, all right, now Olaf thinks that if he needs to give Leuven a break and have another central midfielder, he'll just play Morales there.
Yeah.
It does kind of still beg the question, like, well, but Indy could play right wing if he wanted to, but we just have so many good attacking options. I'm starting to understand why. Like, if Indy wants to play every day, St. Louis probably isn't the spot for him.
He's just like a jack of all trades, master of none kind of player to me. Indy is. He's just worse than every other player that we could roll out in that spot that gives us like more in a certain area. Like Akil Watts is going to give you more defensively than Indy is. Leuven's going to give you more in terms of like engine, like keeping the game ticking, like moving the ball around. Indy might be a better dribbler than both of those players and would kind of beat the press in that sense. But I mean, other than that, you'd see him on right wing, which it looks like we're not going to be playing that this year, like a formation with wingers. So he would end up being a left wing back would be his next position. And we have Valum and Horn there. And it's he's just not as good defensively as those players. So it makes total sense to me that they got rid of him. And they got a good sum of money for him. What was it, like 1.2?
Yeah, 1 mil.
Or something like that.
Add-ons, 200K add-ons.
I thought it was a fair exchange overall.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was news that broke, honestly, like less than a week ago. So great shout. Yeah, Indy Vassilev no longer with St. Louis City, linking up with Bradley Carnell in Philadelphia. The other thing that I really enjoyed about Alfredo's game was him, like, not only, like, commanding the ball, but commanding the team as well. He was like shot calling pretty heavily, pointing exactly where he wanted the ball to go. I don't know if that's something that's beneficial all the time because obviously you're projecting exactly where you want the ball to go. But it seemed like the team was on what? Go ahead there, Ian.
Nothing. It's just like telling the other team exactly what you're doing doesn't usually tend to work out.
It just like. I liked the way that he commanded the game, and it was just a different look than Leuven, who we've really grown accustomed to watching progress play for us. I felt like it was refreshing. I'm not going to sit here and dig on Leuven, but it was interesting to see something different.
Yeah, he seems more of the kind of it's tough to make like player comparisons to like other leagues and stuff because obviously this player is a lot better than Alfredo Morales. But he reminded me of like a Jorginho type of player where he's just gonna sit back and like keep the ball moving around and always create space for somebody to have a ball to play like out of danger. Um, he definitely doesn't offer the kind of pinpoint accurate pass over the top that Leuven does, but I could see him if he does offer more defensively, possibly playing that Watts Durkin role for some starts, or just being the rotation option for Leuven whenever he needs a rest. So
Yeah, big Alfredo. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the chances were coming in this game. Like it does end 0-0, but I mean, we really should have put it away, and it sucks that we have to be in this position again. You know, when you look at last season and how it started with draw after draw after draw, and now we're getting off to this season starting and it's another draw. Um, but I think the style of play is going to fit. I think St. Louis is going to enjoy watching this team play. Do you guys
I agree.
like?
Yeah.
Like,
I agree. I like having the ball more. I like being in control. I felt like we created a ton of chances, and like I said, like I won't know until we watch a few more games and against like better competition because it kind of felt like Colorado was bad, didn't it? Like
it did a
I
little
didn't
bit
know.
feel like that.
It felt
Yes.
like we weren't that good. Like they were just bad. Like,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah, I think the thing that we'll have to watch out for in the future is we touched on it a little bit, I guess, that Klaus is like listed as a striker. I know that you, Chris, think he's not really playing the striker role, and where he pops up on the field, it kind of alludes to the fact that he's being told to do more, and like that's also who he's been as a player forever for us. Everyone is always
Yeah.
frustrated that he gets listed as a striker when he is not like the man in the box. You look at Simon Betcher's heat map for the game; it's literally the penalty spot. Like
Locked on to the
he
penalty
is,
spot.
he
Yeah.
is that player, and so it'll be interesting to see if Klaus can kind of create and score the way that the organization has thought that he could, because we've stuck with this player for quite a while, and I would not be surprised to see him replaced by Toykert if it's not really adding up to like goals and assists, because we're kind of on like our last legs with him, and I didn't think he had a bad game, but he didn't have a good game. Like we needed to score goals. Betcher didn't put one in the back of the net. Klaus didn't really put himself in spots where he could put one in the back of the net, and that's kind of the frustration that I feel with him.
Yeah, and I feel like every time one of our wingers or wingbacks played a cross in, it was Betcher who was winning those headers, right? With like
Yeah.
very little pace on him. But he was the one up there in the box winning the headers, and I was like, man, I wonder what life would look like. I wonder what the final score of this game looks like if that's Klaus, who's standing there playing kind of that poacher striker role. Like I don't know. I think maybe it looks a little different, but
I think that's I think if I get the opportunity, I am going to ask Klaus, like, do you want to be the out and out number 9, or like, do you just want to play make? Do you want to drop deep and set people up more so than like be the penalty spot merchant and just like that's where you're always going? Because it does not seem like that's what he wants to do. And I do like that. I think him and Betcher's actually a good partnership in that way. Like Betcher, I posted about it on the internet. He was the Energizer Bunny incarnate. Like every opportunity he had, he was making a run. Like he was trying to find those long balls from Berkey. Like he was trying to catch Leuven's eye with any moment that Leuven had time in our half. He was making those runs, and that gives Klaus the freedom and ability to pull up and try to play make or try to take somebody on, do whatever the fuck he wants to do. So I think,
And I'd say this is like the perfect situation for Klaus to show what he can do. Like we've never had a player that's an out and out number 9, like off the last defender, kind of making the runs and creating the space for him. He's always been pushed into being that player for us when he never really is that player. Like when we had Joa our first year, they both wanted to play like the exact same way. And so someone was having to do something they didn't really feel comfortable doing. And last year, obviously, we got rid of Joa, but he was forced into a role that he wasn't really, made for. So I think it's make or break for him, and we'll see how it goes and whether Toiker is like the higher on the pecking order, because I think he wouldn't have started tonight anyways, because of injury concern and the fact that he wasn't with the team for preseason, right, Riley?
Yes, correct.
That's what the announcer said towards the end of the game. Because I that was another thing I was like, wow, no Toykert starting. That was kind of interesting to me. But you make a good point, Ian. Like Klaus wants to play the same role that Toykert wants to play. From what I see, right? It's kind of like that second striker that's doing some extra work.
They're very redundant.
I think it's a good problem to have if that's your backlog between Klaus and Toykert. Like Olaf, we'll see what Olaf ends up doing or who ends up becoming the more favorable off main striker, right? It'd be interesting to see.
I just think it's like we're down to our last bit of rope with this player. Like this is a player that Lutz brought in specifically because he like thought he had the talent and like could be the main guy for this team. And he's never really shown that except in like bits and pieces, and then he's had some injuries that have kept him from kind of getting to where they think he should be. And so this will be the year, because I think if he doesn't do it this year, we're just gonna, wipe our hands of this player.
I think we maybe like the first season, Klaus carried us for a good portion of it.
He was really good for the early portion.
Yeah. Then he got hurt, and it really hasn't been the same since. But it's also the first game, so I'm like interested to see Klaus's evolution and if he will pick up form. But if not, man, I think Cedric Toykert, he looked pretty good when he came in. I want to see more of him in the coming games.
I mean, he was kind of insane when he came in last year. I don't remember off the top of my head exactly how many goals he scored, but he was like a breath of fresh air, like someone that could finish in the team, and popped up with a lot of very opportunistic goals. I was a little sad on opening night to not be able to watch Tim Parker put a header in and go mean mug people in the corner, but I love Kessler. I think he's a better player and a long-term, like, sustainable option to kind of keep at the base of this squad. But he did just pop up with a goal in like every opening game. It was uncanny.
It's true. It was iconic.
Yeah, I still feel like St. Louis fleeced in that trade. Maybe fleeced is a strong word, but it's like I think we definitely won.
We won that
like
trade.
long-term outlook.
The further away we get from the trade, it will look like we fleeced.
Yes.
Like as people
even after that one game.
Yeah.
After that one game, I'm like, hell yeah, this is our guy. He's the stopper. So.
And he's bigger than Tim Parker. He scored like an aerial goal last year near the end of the season, and I can see him getting involved in a lot of set pieces.
He seems faster
I'm not
than Tim Parker as well. Like he's an upgrade for sure, and younger, just everything that you could ask for. And I think he's gonna thrive in this formation too. I'll be interested to see. So like we did have some bench players who we didn't see. Obviously no Celio tonight, and that's going to also be kind of interesting. In preseason, we saw like we would play one half where we had 5 in the back, and then we would sub out basically the entire team and play like a 4-3-3 for the second half. And it would be like Celio was playing in this 4-3-3 formation. He wasn't really that much involved in the 5 at the back, which seems to be the way that we're moving forward. I don't know how I see Celio fitting into this. Maybe he plays maybe he's another option for like the Klaus Toykert type role in this formation. Maybe he could play left wing back, but he's kind of a second option in all of those positions. So I really am excited by the prospect of him returning and getting some run of time. I think last season when we played Austin in one of our first games, he was still a bench option but subbed on and scored the winner versus Austin, and that kind of started the trend of him getting those starts again all the way up until his injury, and impressed in all of those games leading up to it. I want Celio to return and be healthy. He's definitely a fan favorite, and fucking love that guy.
Yeah, I think he's poised for a big year, but the formation just does not allow for him to play. You hit the nail on the head there. Like you look at that front three kind of formation where it's Hartel playing the 10. Is Celio that guy? I don't think so. I think he's truly like he's like an out and out like
Winger.
left winger
Yeah.
is what I would call him overall.
And so honestly, I think if he does fit into one of those roles, it's the Betcher role, if anything, because he can be a player that's making the run off of the last defender and using his pace to kind of get in behind. But other than that, I really don't see a place in this team unless his defensive work rate skyrockets and he decides that he can play Horn's position maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even then you've got Conrad Wallum, and I feel like he's going to take that spot pretty quickly. I think maybe like I was honestly surprised. We already talked about Horn started, but it's like how long until Conrad's like up to speed and fully fit and playing left wing back? Probably three games. That's my guess.
And then I think we'd honestly see Horn drop back into Hebert's spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could be. Well, that's
Horn just he's like too big bodied. I don't know, maybe I'm profiling him as a player a little too much, but it's like he just doesn't seem like a left wing back to me. He's like more of a center back.
I agree. He is more of a center back or like a classic left back. Like he is not an offensive kind of minded player. He's got a nice like left foot on him and he can whip a cross in, but or prefer Wallum.
Yeah.
Like getting forward.
Well, the other option, even over Horn, is Baumgartel, who he signed in the offseason from Schalke. He was on the bench in this one. Didn't see any activity from him, but I feel like center back is one of our deepest positions right now, especially if Yarrow and Hebert, two guys who were a part of the original expansion team, are sticking around. We have a lot of depth there at center back, which makes sense if we're playing 5 at the back this year. It'll be interesting. Any other subs that you guys wanted to see that didn't see? I know, actually, Chris.
Ostrak.
Yeah, I was going to say Chris. I know who yours is.
Yeah, and I think, but there was no opportunity to sub him in because he would play Hartel's position. That's where I think he would come in and just like dribble at people. If you need somebody to just really dribble at people, that's who you bring in. But Hartel was in his bag, created a lot of chances. It would have been unwise, or I would have questioned Olaf if he had pulled him for Ostrak in that moment.
Yeah, he was ready to go for. It is interesting, like that Leuven, who in the past I feel like we've seen him play a ton of minutes throughout the season, never really getting injured. But for him to be subbed for tiredness was just interesting, and I guess Marcel's just ready to rock and roll, which is great.
Yeah,
it is early.
I would say that the only substitution I was kind of surprised with was the I don't know if this was for fitness or anything. I don't remember hearing Olaf say anything about it, but I thought Betcher should have stayed on and Klaus should have came off in that. And I think the only reason you would keep Klaus on is for the pure size from like a set piece kind of point of view. Because I thought Betcher looked way more dangerous in this game. Like he had 1.2 XG. He had the shot that Stefan saved, and then there was another header that Watts like kind of drilled the cross in, and he just put it over, trying to like glance it.
Yeah. I liked that chance.
I don't know,
close.
like Klaus, although Klaus didn't have very many high XG opportunities in this game, he still had some. Like he's just a flashy player, no matter what. Because he had that one, I cannot remember who crossed it into him, but where he tried to back heel directly in front of Stefan.
Yes.
And if he had just,
I want to say that was Totland.
It was Totland. And if he had just placed it a little more, like gotten a little more on it and put it far post, that's going in. And then he had one where he cuts inside from that left flanking position, cuts inside, and it whizzes by the far post, but it seemed pretty close. Like I felt like they both had pretty good opportunities in this game. Obviously, Betchers are higher XG, and if Milo was still around, he would say, "Man, fuck the XG. I'm all about the action." Yeah,
And Klaus was about the action. I agree, Riley. He had some good chances. I like that he's shooting from range. I don't know if we saw that enough from Klaus in previous years, but he has the ability to do it, and I want to see him do it more.
him and Leuven both. Well, I guess I don't even know how many opportunities Leuven's going to get for long shot opportunities.
Shooting, yeah. I need to see Hartel shoot from range more.
Yeah.
He's always looking for a pass, which is like cool as a player to kind of have that be your mindset. But I think he's just way too talented to not be shooting in a lot of these positions. And he gets in such good positions because then if he's like dribbling towards the center backs and has the space, he just has Klaus and Betcher making some sort of run, creating space for him to shoot if he wants to. I feel like he has to take advantage of that because I think he's going to be like a 15-goal player this year if he starts shooting.
I hope so. Yeah, he should shoot more because he like watching his highlight tapes from Pauli. That dude does have a fucking rocket on him, and we really have not
He'd
seen. We haven't really seen it. Yeah, that'll be interesting. This team is exciting, man. I think we are in good shape. A 0-0 draw, I don't think fully encapsulates what to expect for the rest of the season. I'm definitely excited.
I am too. Looking forward, do you guys? We're playing against San Diego FC on March 1st.
I'm actually.
I think that's our next game.
I'm locked in on they're playing LA Galaxy right now, and they're winning 1-0 in Carson County.
Ooh.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting team. I really do not rate the San Diego team highly. I know, and I'm gonna yap about this game that I'm watching right now for just a second. I know the Galaxy are like the defending champions, but they lost a lot of talent on their team. Jovic is now
Jovic
Sporting
gone.
BC, to start the season.
What's his name?
Pencil's
Tore his
injured.
ACL in the semifinal.
Ricky Pooge.
I hate him. Tucked in shirt guy. Yeah, Ricky Pooge.
He's been hurt,
Pooch.
and he's probably not going to play for half the season. I don't think this LA Galaxy team are quite what they were at the end of last season. So this 1-0 current lead all the way up, it's the 90th minute right now. I'm not impressed by San Diego's squad. Obviously, they have U.S. men's national team player Luca De La Torre, who's on loan from Celta Vigo. Their main man is Chucky Lozano, who I also just don't rate at all. Obviously played a good amount for PSV, but he never, I don't think, achieved what he was supposed to achieve. I don't think he's ever been that impressive, and I was watching him get clamped repeatedly in this game. So I'm not too
I think
fearful.
it's difficult to judge them off of one game and judge us off of one game. Like, it's early in the year, but I think we could look back on this as like a pretty poor performance to not end up getting the points out of this, considering I think we all think that Colorado's not going to be that good this year. And this was there for the taking. Like, we should have scored a goal. Betcher should have scored one, and someone else probably should have put in another. Just tough to not get points. But, it's the parity league. We'll see where it goes when we play San Diego next.
It's a way.
Is that away?
Encouraging. It is away, I believe. But what I was going to say is we had 17 shots, so like we created so much. So that is encouraging, and it makes it's an attractive style of football. Normally, when you hear like 5 in the back, some people might think of that as like, oh, we're packing it in. That was not at all the case.
Yeah, no.
It was just like
It was more
4
like
wingbacks involved.
It was more like 3
Yeah.
in the back, and we had like
Yeah,
some outside midfield.
that's what it was.
Outside midfield players. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
17 to 2 shots is like it's like all the stats for this read like an MLS team was playing like a USL team in like a friendly.
Yeah.
Like we should have kind of stomped these guys. We'll see if they can find their finishing boots.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, it's game 1. I'm like encouraged by it. I don't think it's going to be, I mean, knock on wood, I don't think this is going to be a pattern, right? If you create 17 shots on target and you have 2 XG and you get out of there 0-0, that's just bad luck, in my opinion. So It's going to be an attractive style of football. I'm excited that we have the ball more. That's just annoyed me. I understand what we were going for with like the pressing last year, but this just feels like we have more of a there's an identity to our tactics right now, and
It's more
everybody seems
and
to
it's
be on the
more
same page about
competent
it.
too, right? Like it's
Yeah,
more how
that's a good way
football
to
is
say it.
like supposed to be played. It's not like Pep Guardiola style possession, but like we are going to be in better control of games, and we're not going to solely rely on dump and chase tactics. And
It's kind of like Amron ball light. That's what I would call it.
mm, okay, tactical.
I will
Obviously, that's
say
not
that
working out for United right now, but
yeah, it's not really. I don't know if that's a good comparison to draw right now. Maybe you can come back to that one in a year, and they're
in terms of shape though, and like types of players, I think that it's like a valid comparison. And we also had a full season or like off season to implement the strat. Like Amram, I feel for him right now is in a tough spot. I know not a prem pod, but it's like I think there's similarities to draw and shape.
Menu is terribly run. It's if you were
Yeah.
going to hire a coach that has a like very specific philosophy and way to play, you don't do it in the middle of a season and expect results.
Right.
Yep.
He has a bunch of players he doesn't want. So, not to be a prem pod, but we gave all off a full off season and brought in some players that he likes. So I think we're in a better position than Man U are, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Mhm.
San Diego just scored their second goal. Looks like they're going to go on to beat LA Galaxy 2-0, the reigning MLS champions. So maybe San Diego is going to be a good expansion team. We're definitely going to find out. I'm definitely a little nervous because obviously our away record last season was abysmal. I think our only away win was away to San Jose, who finished with the wooden spoon in MLS. So
I think that the way that we're going to play now is going to contribute to us being able to play away from home a lot better.
yes,
Like when you come into someone else's, house and just try to prey on their mistakes, basically, because that was kind of what Carnell ball was. We're gonna press and we're gonna hope
Yeah.
that you fuck something up, and then we're gonna instantly pounce on that opportunity and just score like an easy goal. And it's always better to just be in control. And it also takes like the life out of the other team to a certain degree, where you walk in and you possess the ball for like 10 straight minutes at the beginning of the game, even if you don't create that many opportunities, like they're kind of checked out. The fans are kind of checked out. I think it'll give us a lot more leeway in these away fixtures, but we'll see.
I think kudos to Lutz because he had this vision of like the first two seasons, right? It's you might not have the most quality because you're just kind of spinning up and getting a feel for who is MLS ready and who's worthy. He was like, all right, we're gonna bring in a coach that plays this like high pressing, gegen pressing football to try to win and get results while on the back end, Lutz is cooking up and he's like finding Marcel Hartels and the Tuchherts and the Wallums, right? Now this squad is so deep with talent. I think we actually have like a full squad of real talent. We're not like there's no band-aids. If you really look at it, like even Akil Watts is who I would have been like, oh, that's kind of a band-aid, but he looked like he took a level. He like maybe has made a jump in his career. He just looked a lot more comfortable on the ball, and I feel a lot more confident with him playing at defensive center mid position or even a right wing back position if he needs to. Like he just looked a lot better. So, kudos to Lutz. He brings in the right guy at the right time, right? Like Olaf's going to get a lot out of this team.
yeah, great perspective, definitely. And to even touch on that more, like City 2, the youth team, like last season, overperformed their expectations, and I think there's a lot of talent that's recognizable from that team now. In preseason, Mackay Joyner, what's OG's name? Caden Glover is still with the club.
Yeah.
Miggy Perez is back. I don't really know how much we're going to see of him this year, but there's youth excitement too. So the club
guys
is being
seen
run
photos of
very
Miggy?
well, and I'm very happy.
Have you seen photos of Miggy recently?
No, maybe
He hit the weight room.
Yeah,
He's bigger. He's no longer like a little kid.
A
What was
high
he, like
schooler.
He's like a
17,
man
16?
now. What is he? 18
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
bro
He
got
both
growth
up.
spurt.
good
Yeah.
fucking work.
I
kid.
guess talking about our bench, right? Like, there's one name in here that he's not in my book. Joseph Zielinski. Do you have anything on? Does anybody know anything about him?
he was a super draft pick. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't really know that
and we
much about
still
him.
haven't signed our other super draft pick. This is our second rounder. Our first rounder still has not been signed to the team because he's going to take up an international spot, right, Riley?
Yes, that's correct.
And we need Toykert to go get his green card.
His green card.
Yeah, before we can sign him. But we do have a full roster, so I don't really know. It says this guy is just like a right back, Zelensky.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Tottenham
I don't really
back
know
up.
much about him.
Simple.
Yeah, and we need a Tottenham backup because I don't really know if there's any other player other than Watts in the squad that can really go out there and do a job there. Probably the only area where if we got an injury, I would feel like a little concerned. Yeah, I mean, on paper, I feel like our team is pretty stacked. Like last year, after we brought in Tuchel and Hartel, I felt like we were good. We just like the whole season had already passed us by, and now we're just like kind of coasting into the end of the season. But these are like some very talented players. I'm pretty optimistic on what Hartel can do in this league. So
That's why I think for me the 0-0 is all the more disappointing is because like, all right, fresh start, fresh season. Let's hit the ground running, and obviously we did perform well, but to not score at all fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other city talk? I was going to run down on a small handful of MLS games that intrigued me that happened this weekend.
Yeah, can we start with Sporting KC losing at home?
Yeah. No,
They
it was
lose to
it was
Austin.
at Q2 in Austin, 1-0.
Oh,
Yeah, their new signing Joveljic didn't even play. I forget. Bukhari scored for Austin. That name's familiar, but I don't really know from where. Yeah, Joveljic didn't even start. Austin, of course, signed former U.S. men's national team player who was just with Monterrey last season, Brandon Vasquez. I'm not too keen on him. I kind of think he's a bum, but we'll see whenever we play Austin. That's a great shout. The other one game that I watched a little bit of was Columbus Crew and Chicago Fire. Greg Berhalter's Chicago Fire losing 4-2 in Columbus. Absolute banger. I'm going to be hate watching Chicago, I think, more than the past two seasons combined. And can't wait to go back to Soldier Field this year to catch that game. Yell some profanities at Greg Berhalter yet again. That'll be good.
Yeah, it's
from like the top
just
of the
looking at this,
stadium?
like
Yeah, from fucking the attic, from the third
Yeah,
300.
they put you
section.
all the way in the attic.
Yeah.
the furthest deck possible. It's just crazy what can change season to season because like Colorado, they look pretty shitty against us, and last year they were third in the West. Like anything can kind of happen, and an off season does really matter. Like San Jose is currently on top of the West. I mean, it's one game, but like they were the scum of the league last year.
They
Like
signed-
literally the bottom of
They
the
signed
barrel.
some studs. That was the other game that I wanted to bring up with San Jose 4-0 over Salt Lake. Because San Jose
I've always thought that Espinoza was a really good player, like really exciting player to watch.
Well,
But
and that's so like in this game he gets 2 assists. Chicho Arango, former Salt Lake player, made the move to go to San Jose. It came out as like super surprising that he left Salt Lake because they had a pretty decent season last year and he was their star, the star of their team. But now he's with San Jose. And San Jose hired Bruce Arena and is currently the head coach of the Earthquakes, which is like, it's also interesting, right? Like the revolving door of U.S. soccer allows, Bruce Arena to get a job after what he like, I don't know if he said a racial slur at New England Revolution or what the fuck he did, but
Oh God!
but
Yeah,
hey, now he's
totally
the coach
forgot that.
in San Jose. And then they signed Joseph Martinez as well. So they cocked down Real Salt Lake 4-0. Yeah, that was the only other game that I wanted to bring up as a little Western Conference action.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they continue the good run of form. They play Kansas City next week, so
Yes,
love
sir.
to see SKC getting bopped anytime.
Absolutely. Absolutely indeed. Well, do you guys have anything else before we sign on out of here?
I'm checking to see how Indy did, or if he even featured in that game at all.
Ooh. He probably
Billy beat Orlando 4-2.
Yeah, it was 4-2. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See what their lineup looked like.
I doubt he would feature, considering the
he's
fact
no
that he
in-
just
yeah, no
moved
in-
there.
he's not even on the
Like,
bench.
Yeah.
Bro, he's got to compete with Caven Sullivan as well. I don't know.
I forgot the youngster was
he's
there.
on he's like first team this year too. He's not. I don't think he's gonna spend any time with Philly.
What is he, like
the
15,
Union 2.
16?
Yeah, I think he's 16
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah,
That's
Riley, are you
crazy.
gonna go up to Philly? You gonna go up to Philly and watch him play?
That's the plan. That's the plan. I'm
Did you
excited.
book a
Philly,
ticket? If you booked a ticket, I might just book one right after this pod.
do it.
Just to go up there.
Yeah, I already
Yeah.
have the ticket. So if
Let's
you're
do it.
game, we'll get it done out there. I was thinking about doing a vlog out there too, just to keep the content train rolling as we try to keep FTM alive and well, keep the fire lit. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
You've convinced me. I'll fly to Philly. Let's do it.
let's fucking go. All right. See you in Philadelphia.
All right.
In-
Before we leave, though, sports or predictions for next game. What are you
Oh, sure.
thinking against San Diego?
I think we get a 3-1 victory in San Diego.
Damn. I'm gonna say 1-0 victory. Let's go 2-for-2 clean sheets. Bing bong.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2-0 City. I like our defense, man. I think it's a massive plus for our team.
And when your star player
So,
is
Kills you, man.
Olaf,
We're all real
I'm gonna be
optimistic
way
going
off.
into this.
wait, what?
Olaf was a center back, correct?
Yes, correct.
You get that wrong? Okay. I think that probably plays into it, right? If you have that defensive mindset, like we're looking for clean sheets. Like it's not acceptable to let in goals. So I think that we'll see a lot more of those this year.
Definitely. I know Berkey appreciates it. Cool. All right, gentlemen. Well, with that, I will wrap up this podcast. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you after the game in San Diego. Thanks, y'all. Peace out.
Thank you for watching this episode of Soul of the City, brought to you by First Touch Media and Anchor FM. Make sure to check us out on YouTube at First Touch Media, and all of our socials are at First Touch 314. Thank you for watching.